Welcome to Math 20 video lecture series. In this video, we're going to show the graphs of tangent, cotangent, secant, and cosecant functions. So, let us begin by sketching the graph of tangent x. So, we want to graph y equal to tangent of x. Okay, in our previous lessons, tangent x is the same as sine x over cosine x. And this is undefined whenever cosine of x is 0 or x is an odd multiple of pi over 2. So, graph natin siya. So, let's say this is our y-axis. This is our x-axis. Okay. So, let's say this is pi over 2. Okay, so wala siyang value si tangent sa mga odd multiples ni pi over 2. So, yung susunod dito is 3 pi over 2. Okay, and we have negative pi over 2, negative 3 pi over 2, and so on. So, at these values of x, so wala tayong value ni tangent. Okay, so wala tayong value dyan. So, ang ginagawa usually, pag ginagraph yung tangent, kumukuha ka lang ng isang portion ng graph, tapos uulit-ulitin mo lang. So, yung graph dito, uulit dito, 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 dito. So, dyan sa mga binilugan ko, pare-pareha lang yung itsura ng graph. So, it is enough na i-graph natin siya dito. So, let's say when x is 0, y is tangent of 0, tangent of 0 is 0. So, ito yung point na yan. When x is 0, y is 0. Okay. Next, when x is, akuha tayo ng point dito. Parang maganda si pi over 4. Pi over 4 is here. When x is pi over 4, our y is, that is, sine pi over 4 over cosine pi over 4, square root of 2 over 2, square root of 2 over 2. When you divide that, you get 1. Okay? So, let's say this is 1 unit. This is 1, this is 2. Ay, red pala tayo. Ay, tama red. Okay? So, actually, ang magiging graph niya ay something pa ganyan. And when x is negative pi over 4, y is negative 1. Okay, so bali, yan yung graph niya from negative pi over 2 to pi over 2. So, uulit-ulit na lang yung mga graph na yan. So, magkakaroon tayo ng something like this. Oops. Okay, so ganyan yung graph niya. So, nagko-continue iyan. Okay? Next. For cotangent of x, ganun ulit lang gagawin natin. Cotangent of x, this is cosine of x over sine of x. So, kailan magzi-zero yung denominator? Kapag sine of x is 0. So, magzi-zero yung sine kapag x is a multiple of pi. So, walang value si cotangent at those x values sa mga multiples ni pi. Okay? So, let's say this is pi, 2 pi, 3 pi, etc. Negative pi, negative 2 pi. So, wala tayong values dyan. Okay. So, mangyayari ngayon, yung graph sa portion na to, ito, lahat yung mga binilugan ko, magkakamukha lang din yung itsura ng graph niya. Medyo hawig nung sa tangent. So, same technique lang din yung gagawin natin. Okay, so kuha tayo ng point dito. Parang maganda itong pi over 2, no? Okay, so when x is pi over 2, our y is cosine pi over 2, 0. Sine pi over 2 is 1. So, this is 0. So, we have this point. Okay? So, that is pi over 2. Dito naman sa pi over 4, ba't pala nilakihan ko onte, no? Okay, so when x is pi over 4, our y is 1. Okay? Kasi pa-plug in nyo dito si pi over 4, these two will give the same value of square root of 2 over 2. So, magiging 1 yung sagot. So, let's say this is 1 unit. So, we have this point. Okay, kuha naman tayo ng 3 pi over 4. Ano kayang ilalabas nun? So, when x is 3 pi over 4, y is, nasang quadrant ba yan? That is in quadrant 2. So, ang value nun ay negative 1 because cosine is negative, y is positive. Okay, so negative 1. Somewhere andito siya. Okay, so yung magiging graph niya, ganito itsura. Naka-pink. Tapos, so ulit-ulitin na lang natin siya. Ay. Okay. So, this is the graph of cotangent of x. So, ngayon, how do we graph yung kay cosecant at saka secant? So, let's say y is a secant b times x minus c plus d, and cosecant b x minus c plus d. Actually, para makuha niyo yung graph niyan, kailangan, alam niyo muna yung graph ni for secant, igagraph niyo yung cosine, yung reciprocal niya. And for cosecant, igagraph niyo muna yung sa sine. And we know from our previous video that ang magiging itsura ng graph niyan ay wave. Okay, ito yung wave natin. Pag nag-graph nyo na yan, nakikita nyo yung maximum tsaka minimum points na ito. Okay. And itong parang midline ng graph. Okay. So, lahat ng mga tumatama sa midline, so example, itong mga points na to, mag-drawing kayo ng vertical lines doon. So, that will serve as the asymptotes. Okay, so nasaan na yung graph dyan nung secant tsaka cosecant. So, i-drawing nyo lang siya ng parang pabaliktad. Something like this. So, yung pink na yan yung graph nung secant o kaya cosecant. So, kung buburahin ko yung image natin, so, yan yung magiging itsura ng graph niya. So, let's give an example. For example, you want to graph cosecant of x. So, ang i-graph muna natin is yung reciprocal niya, sin x. Ano ba itsura ni sin x? So, you can use our previous lesson to graph sin x, pero ang graph niya ay ganito. So, this is 1, negative 1. So, gagraph natin 1 cycle lang. Oops. Okay. So, yung mga asymptotes, itong mga nasa points na ito. Parang gitna nung graph. Okay. So, itong naka-pink, ito na yung graph nung cosecant of x. So, tuloy-tuloy yan. So, this is y equal to cosecant of x. Okay? And for secant of x, kailangan muna nating i-graph si cosine of x. So, if this is 1, negative 1, so magiging ganito yung graph ni cosine. Okay. So, again, nasan yung mga vertical asymptotes? These are the vertical asymptotes. Gusto ko black. And babalik na rin nyo lang to get the graph of secant. So, yung pink, yan yung graph ni secant of x. Okay? Clear? So, there you have it. So, ayan na yung graph ni tangent x, cotangent of x, and a method how to get the graphs of secant of x and cosecant of x from cosine and sine respectively. Bye!